Losing sight of it, it came right down the hall and knocked Momo off Okarun's back before giving our Super Saiyan emo child a 5-piece combo. It from leading to its shape starting to give way. Momo manages to grab hold of it and gives Okarun the chance to go all out with the newly heightened speed that even put the evil eye in the dirt. Dandadan is a phenomenal show with a ridiculous cast, and the animators just gave us one of the best animated fights of the year in an episode with a bit of table setting for the rest of the season. So how do you follow up an episode with that much peak action exactly? This is Do It All Dandadan, so you know they gave us peak comedy next. But they low-key pissed me off, and here I'm gonna tell you why. So grab a bev, some media eats, and let's talk about what they cooked up for us this time. So we open up with what appeared to be Okarun's morning routine after his school alarm went off. Except it wasn't our nerdy king. We got balloon animal Okarun out here looking like the Walmart great value version of any regular brand ever created. Bro had the audacity to give me a 360, as if I asked for that. Bro, you are not a BBL baddie. Walk it out, bucko. Bro got a rainbow deck of combs inside the jacket too. I know off this alone, he's a sick dude. Skip forward and we see him singing a theme song while walking down the street towards the school. And do my eyes deceive me? Or did bro just give me another 360 with a freaking jetpack for a backpack? What buffoonery is he up to? He whips out the comb again to comb his hair back into place just to have to button up the jacket again as he walks. And then he gets close up on the school around regular human beings and he starts getting real quiet with his singing. And thank goodness. That was so horrid I almost beamed my phone at the screen like Ashton Hall with the PS5 controller. We see everybody entering the school gate and then peep that this episode is a more detailed flashback of previous events to start out when Okarun is hiding and making funny faces before attempting to figure out whether or not he should even greet Momo this morning. But remember, this portion of the episode has Okarun before the real lock-in, so he's a lot softer than we'd expect him to be now. He walks past Momo since he couldn't figure out how to talk to her and figured the safest option was to just say nothing. Luckily, she bumps into him to defuse the situation and walk together to class. And here we go with part 2 of the buffoonery. Because why are you walking to class and staring down another man as a pretty girl bumps into him? Why was Okarun even on your radar? Before this, he was just a nerd that got pushed around and ignored in class. But I digress. We see Okarun setting up for the school day while glossing through his books before getting hit with a volleyball, and then the great value nerd can be seen in the back of the classroom pretending to read books while staring dead at my goat. Later on, we see Okarun doodling in his notebook about the last adventure he had with Momo against Turbo Granny, and this weirdo is still staring at him from the back of the classroom behind a book. Lunch starts and we see the rom-com shenanigans as Okarun and Momo go looking for each other through the sea of people in the hallway and dramatically miss each other on the way to each other's classrooms. And for some reason, now I have to watch the great value weirdo looking for somebody too? They separately go to the cafeteria and co-op areas, and then end up sitting on the benches in the breezeway area after failing to see each other once again. We have them right across from each other, separated by 2 small walls with windows, but they cutely don't realize that each other are there. Then we see this fat-nosed bum across the bushes on the opposite bench from our nerdy goat. We have Okarun and Momo out here thinking about how each other could be and how they might want to see each other, but the other person may not want to see them, you know, basic overthinking stuff in young relationships type deal. But do you know what this weirdo had for an internal dialogue? Nothing. We then see Okarun and Momo prep to head back, and all 3 of them get up at the same time and walk into the hallway of the breezeway. Then we have one of the first cutesy but cliche moments of the young couple where they bump heads while looking at the floor and accidentally kiss. But now we have the animators trying to change history and gaslight us. Because what do you mean Momo's 2 friends were in the doorway behind this weirdo? When the scene first happened, bro was nowhere to be found. I went back to rewatch the old episode so I could be sure I didn't have the Alzheimer's of somebody double Granny Seiko's age. From there, we see the great value nerd vying for our nerdy king's attention in class like some peacock doing a mating dance. First with a book covering his face while subtly and loudly coughing in front of Okarun's row, then the second approach by putting together and flying a Gundam around the classroom like a 4-year-old that got to bring his favorite toy to school for show and tell. Whole time, Okarun just looks up at him for 2 seconds and right back at his books. Bro then decides to spam his ultimate move, singing that theme song from 2 feet away from Okarun's desk. When Okarun finally looks up at him, bro says, "I see you, my enemy." And Okarun goes right back to reading out of his book. Not going to lie, I would have too, because what the heck is dude even talking about right now? We've never spoken words or acknowledged each other's existence before, and the first thing you say to me is "I'm your op"? Yeah, walk it out, buddy. So he tells Okarun that he was talking to him the whole time, and he's obviously shook, because why though? Then this bum follows up by saying, "I'm not really into guys, but I don't have a choice." Like, gang, what do you mean you don't have a choice? A choice to do what? Why are you harassing me? Okarun sits there blushing while lost in the sauce just like me, and after a long pause, this clown finally reveals his intentions. He asks how Okarun gets along with Momo, and as a matter of fact, Ira too. Then for his reasoning, he says, "You're not particularly handsome, you're short, and quite dull." Brother, what? I'm getting my looks graded by the fatter version of myself with no neck and a middle part? Bro probably built like the Michelin Man up under there talking about how Okarun is not particularly handsome. If the fat clone even thinks he's average, then Okarun has to be at least an 8.5 out of 10. Bro called him short and all? Lord forbid a man go to school and actually do school. Like, what are we even talking about here? What type of hating is this? Bro chatting like, "If the girls are gonna go after him, I should definitely have a few on my arm too. I mean, come on, look at this guy." Bro got me fuming. Whole time, Okarun is just lost in the sauce, wondering what's even going on before saying it isn't even that deep. Bro was dying to know how he got along with the pretty girls. We finally get saved from the cringe when Momo rushes in to tell Okarun about the golden ball that she had a theory about. She asks if she was interrupting, but the clown starts blushing and saying that she wasn't, and him and Okarun were kinda friends. And this interaction got me thinking, if I'm Okarun, bro, did this man just walk up to me to ride my meat that I currently don't even have because Turbo Granny scattered it across the city like the Dragon Balls, and you like the girl that I like? Brother, push off! We then see the class president enter the fray after Okarun suggests they talk about the golden ball in private elsewhere, when she says they don't want Momo running all up in the class when everybody else is trying to study and stuff. Not gonna lie, that's a respectable take, but when I saw her 2 emotional support animal-esque friends standing behind her, I knew something else was amiss. Momo apologized for the disturbance and then told Okarun to follow her outside. As they start walking though, the class pres tells Okarun he doesn't have to go when it doesn't look like he wants to for real. She says if he doesn't want to tell Momo he doesn't want to, then she'll stand up for him. At this point, I knew exactly what happened. The pres low-key likes Okarun, but can't really work up the courage to say anything. Momo asks Okarun if she's correct. He obviously says no, but asks what's actually going on. For once, the clone wasn't pissing me off though, cause the head swivel back and forth was my exact reaction to the scene as it was unfolding. And the pres isn't even ugly for real. She's low-key kinda cute. Might be the safer option if we didn't know what we knew about Momo and Granny Seiko, of course. Momo and the pres get face to face and state their cases, and the pres even apologizes to Okarun for not peeping it sooner, but that he can tell her anything because she's the class president. Momo wasn't having any of that nonsense and straight yelled at Okarun to tell the class president that she was an idiot. He starts to speak, but the pres tells her to stop pressuring him. Then, hang on, at a time like this, I know my eyes have to be deceiving me. That back and forth movement, is the clone gooning to this argument? I get that they're both baddies, but are we dead serious right now? The front angle doesn't help his case either. Bro is blushing and sweating while talking about how popular Okarun is. Gang, pop it out! He doesn't even have all his meat right now. Quit hogging it, please! Bro starts talking about how pretty Momo is like he's about to bust, and then when he reaches his limit, he slides in front of everybody and says, 10-gallon weenie, while stanced up like a complete freakazoid. Then after everybody stares at him in complete silence, just says, wiener. Brother, what are you on? We skip forward and see Momo and Okarun walking after school, and Momo is pissed because the president stood up to her, but Okarun is just glad that people in his class finally spoke to him. Momo turns up the heat though, saying it's probably because he's been pretty cool lately, and Okarun immediately peeps game and starts blushing. Bro says, really? And Momo says, yeah, while facing away from him. Then, being the simple man that he is, Okarun lets out a quiet, hooray. And nothing gets a girl to open up and get comfortable like a little cute slip up like that. Momo bursts out laughing, talking about the way that he said hooray, and Okarun is left embarrassed. He asks her what he should have said, and she tells him nothing else because that's just like him to say. After another cute but awkward moment, Momo turns his attention back towards the picture her friend showed her about the golden floating ball. They start walking again while chatting about it. Then we see the no-necked goblin trying to listen in behind a nearby wall, talking about how they're definitely talking about something spicy. Bro ponders as to why Okarun can pull off that language, but him saying stuff like that gets him put on the chopping block by Momo. It was at this point I realized he wasn't trying to be weird when he was itching to bust in class while Momo and the Prez were arguing. He was trying to fit in and get brownie points with Momo by talking spicy to her like her and Okarun were. Still weird, but slightly more acceptable now. Bro starts doing the weird posing thing again, talking about how he has to know Okarun's method and how he will get to be lovey-dovey with girls like Momo. Just as he ponders why they ended up in the apartment complex, this clown accidentally kicks a can and has to play it off and act like he wasn't following them the entire time. As he steps forward, he starts floating and then a green domain expands around them. He then goes flying at Momo, and instead of thinking about how terrible it would be to collide with his schoolmate at full speed or how he wants to stop, the first thought in this clown's mind is, at this rate, Miss Ayase's lips will touch mine. Brother, what? Somebody check his hard drive because I know he has some non-consensual stuff on there. And we don't do that in this section. We team Okarun out here in these streets. Luckily, Okarun intervenes at the last second and leaves that bozo knocked and laying on the ground. Momo thinks that the perv is the ball spirit's true form. And as much sense as that regrettably makes, Okarun snapped her back into reality to direct her attention to the floating golden ball down the hall. They both try to catch it with Momo missing first with her spirit hands, and then Okarun tries to grab it with both hands when he landed right in front of it, but he was repelled. At which point he made a key fact abundantly clear to both Momo and us. It's not just a floating golden ball, there's a physical form surrounding it even if they can't see it. As soon as he reveals this, we see the golden ball retreating from them. Momo hops on Okarun's back and they gave chase, and the great value freak finally wakes up from his nap. Momo tasks him with watching their backpacks while they go handle business. They chase the ball up the stairs, and after losing sight of it, it came right down the hall and knocked Momo off Okarun's back before giving our Super Saiyan emo child a 5-piece combo. Momo jumps back on Okarun and they keep chasing it to the roof, where Okarun elects not to try and catch it, but instead disable whatever is around the ball with a flying kick. Momo tries to clap it unconscious, but misses and follows up with a punch that connects. Okarun tries to land another hit, but gets sent flying into the railing before it once again retreats, this time to the lower levels. Okarun grabs onto Momo in order for her to use her spirit hands to swing them alongside the walls of the building. Just as she catches sight of it, the ball doubled back and hit both her and Okarun and sent them spiraling into the cement below. She shielded them with their spirit hands, but it still knocked the wind out of both of them and turned Okarun back into his normal form. While Momo compared about it not being fair that it could be invisible, and Okarun sat baffled about how useless he felt, the perv could be heard screaming from the levels above in the complex. Last time I checked, Momo told him to watch the bags, so why did he think it was smart to follow them as they chased the thing that threw him like a rag doll merely 5 minutes ago? Great question. I have no idea. But what I do know is he got thrown over the railing as they ran up the stairs to save him, and then Momo had to use a spirit hand to catch him and bring him back to their floor. And of course, the backpacks were nowhere to be found. Bro tells him to stand back so he can handle it, and I'm lost because I have no idea what he thinks he can do. Again, the thing just threw him over the edge of an apartment railing in an attempt to end his life. Bro goes full nerd boy though and runs at the ball while calling out a jet stream attack before face planting into the floor. He did actually suggest something partially useful though, saying that it may be using retroreflective projection technology and they need to look at it from 3 separate angles in order to counter it. As if realizing he was right, the ball retreats by crashing into the nearest apartment door and then proceeding to decimate every single wall of the apartments to the left of it. We see the pervy clone start running after it and Momo senses presence and used her spirit arms to propel her through the windows of the nearest apartment. It gets forced into the hallway and we finally see the plan work as all 3 of them have 3 separate angles to view it from, leading to its shape starting to give way. Momo manages to grab hold of it and gives Okarun the chance to go all out with the newly heightened speed that even put the evil eye in the dirt. After sending the creature flying, they regroup and Momo thanks them for their help, but asks the great value clone what it is that led him to know about the weakness. He takes this as his time to shine and adjusts his glasses before talking about the book that he actually was reading earlier in class. She didn't really care for the in-depth explanation though, and her and Okarun were looking at the now defeated dinosaur thing. Realizing that it wasn't a spirit, Okarun just called it a kaiju, and then he starts cheesing with his eyes twinkling. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm tapped in on kaiju number 8, and if you've seen the show, then you know a kaiju is not the type of problem Okarun and Momo need in the city right now. They decide to go down and check to see if there was actually a golden ball, and for some reason they decide to take the stairs instead of using Momo's spirit hands. As they walk off and the clone begs Okarun to explain how to make spicy talking work to him, we see the kaiju start supersizing. Momo starts kicking him in the backside, and this freak, this deviant, starts talking about how much he likes it. Then Okarun looks back and calls for Momo to peep the terrible news. Looking through the hole in the wall was a supersized version of the thing, but it gets worse. Bro seemed to triple in size and now was double the size of the entire complex building. And here I was thinking this episode was just gonna be comedy. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, become a member to help support the content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And like I always say, AYC, what you got for me?
Your theme is peace.